I'm here with actor slash musician Will Meyers. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this today.
Thanks for having me.
So, why don't you talk a little bit about when you decided you first wanted to be an actor and what, I know you're so young, but what,
Thank you.
Just yesterday, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But basically, so yeah, I mean, pretty much my whole life. I mean, I had a lot of help from my mom, so I owe a lot of it to her. Um, but yeah, like apparently when I was 6 years old or 4 years old, actually, I don't even remember saying this, but I would watch like Zorro and like Superman and like Peter Pan and all these like movies that I was super into, and I would memorize the lines and kind of recite it as I was playing it, like over and over and over again. And at one point I went like, how do I get in there? How do I do that? And my mom was like, do you want to be an actor? And I guess I was like, yeah, that'd be really cool. So she was like, okay, we'll look into it. Let's get you an agent. And then she started like searching all around like Boston, and that's when I started working with my first agent out of Boston when I was living in Connecticut.
Okay.
And then eventually when I turned 13, we decided that we were going to move out to California. And I started taking my acting career a little bit more seriously. And and my agent at the time was super great about it because she hooked me up with my manager, and then I came out to New York, California, and then, I worked from there for like 4 years, and then I got a Disney movie and a couple guest stars on Nick's show, and, and then it went really well from there, and then it kind of slowed down a little bit, and I was like, you know what, this something needs to change. Like, I'm not sure what's going on. And then I had the idea to come to New York, where I'm here now. And I came out last summer when I was 17 with a show, actually. So that was really fun. So that was my like first official job here was a musical show called Generation Me. And that was such a privilege to work with everyone in the cast because it was an all-teen cast. They made a point of doing that. And it was such a great experience. And it talked about some really important topics. So.
Was it daunting moving from California to New York? Because the
yeah.
atmosphere is different, obviously.
Yeah, actually, before I came to New York, I hated coming here.
Really?
Like, I did not like it. It was way too chaotic for me. But, I mean, that also probably comes from because anytime I went to New York, I was in Midtown the whole time. So it's overwhelming, if you weren't like raised in that. But I mean, like I live like far away from the hustle and bustle, but still enough that it's very much like, so I love it now. Like the work ethic and the people that live here and just the way everything works here is really good for me. I love New York.
And you started booking roles on the New York-based show.
Pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Like a year into it, it was just like bam. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a really busy, successful year. I'm really happy with what's going on. Yeah.
That's amazing. And in 2019, I'm guessing here, but I think your next role is going to be on Gotham. Is that the next thing that comes out?
Yep. Yeah, that's coming out in either January or March. I'm not sure if there's a confirmed date yet, but I'm hoping January.
Can you tease a little bit about your character without giving anything away?
Not really.
Okay.
But I mean, it was so cool. It was so cool. Because they used all like, it's an action show, so they used all like practical effects as far as like, the action and everything, and just to see all of that behind the scenes, it was really interesting because that was my first experience like that. You know what I mean? And all of the cast was like super welcoming, especially Donal, who plays Harvey.
Right.
He really kind of like took me under his wing, and he was very like much a mentor while I was on set, and he offered me a lot of tips and pointers, and
that's great when
shared a lot of like really cool stories with great insight. So it was great. Yeah.
That's great when you get somebody who's established and has been in the business for a while.
Veteran actor for sure. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, so that was great. And I mean Ben too. Like he was super sweet, especially with there were some younger actresses as well on set, and he was he was great with them.
That's
what I mean?
Awesome.
Like they were doing like finger guns, and he was like, "Oh no!" and they were like shooting him, and he was like dying on the ground, and obviously, he was really sweet with all of us. It was awesome. It was a really good experience.
What kind of music are you interested in putting out?
Music, whew, all pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I love like all music. I mean, if it's honestly. And I started out with guitar when I was 7.
Okay.
And then I taught myself drums and a little bit of piano, and I started singing, and it just kind of like branched off from there. And yeah, it's just I enjoy all. I mean, mainly like acoustic stuff, but like I love like old rock and like classic rock and like yeah. I mean, I don't know, pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I can get into. Yeah.
Do you have either an actor or a musician, I guess one of each, who's inspired you to do a certain thing in acting and also a certain thing in music?
Actor for sure. Heath Ledger was my like role model, especially in like Knight's Tale. I loved his work like ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I was heartbroken when I found out that he had passed away. But he's just such a legend. Like even starting at such a young age too, which is a huge inspiration to me because it proves that like you don't have to be, and it shows like with other young actors out there now. You don't have to like wait until you're like 50 to become like this like legendary, booming powerhouse of an actor. Like if you have the skills and people you're able to be taken seriously because you take yourself seriously.
Right.
I mean, there's no limit to what you can do. You know what I mean?
You seem very grounded and very mature.
Thank you.
Does that help when you're with the defeat of going out for roles and not getting them, or do you have a certain way you talk yourself down from not getting a role? Or
yeah, for sure. I mean, a great actor books 1 out of 10 auditions. So I mean, no matter what you do, there's always going to be that denial. And you kind of just have to get used to it and know that it's literally nothing personal. And that it could come down to literally just how... Because there's a lot of moving parts, too. But at the end of the day, it could come down to how, the casting director was feeling that day. And, like, if it was a different day, you might have gotten the part.
Yeah.
And it's just... There's so many factors that go into it that you kind of just have to be like, you know what? I did my best. I did the best that I could do. I brought myself to the table.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And if it didn't work out, then that's okay. I'll come back for the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's one of the rare instances in your job where
it
could be based on looks, or it could be based on this or that or the other thing.
Yeah, it's such a unique profession because like it's one of the most like the amount of work you put into it does not at all equal the amount you receive back. At least work wise.
Right.
I mean, if your training and everything, and like personally how good you get and everything, and the deeper understanding of it, of the art of it, you get. I mean, obviously that is rewarding, but less so than that is the actual work itself. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fickle industry, but I love it. You know what I mean? It's great.
You're based in New York. Pardon me. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay.
You're based in New York now. Any interest in doing theater?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Drama or comedy or musical?
All around. I love it. I love like a mix of stuff. I
Yeah.
feel like that's really if it dances between drama and comedy, because I mean the show that I did, Generation Me, it talks about a lot of really important topics like mental health and suicide and which I work with an organization that promotes mental health and
yes, please talk
works
about
to
that.
prevent suicide. They're called the Jordan Porco Foundation. And I'll get to that in a minute. But the show, basically, the first number it starts with the main character, ending his own life. And it's really, it's just like, that's how it starts. And then the next show, it's my character and him in a flashback learning about how to secretly take a girl's bra off, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
it's just, it goes from oh my god, that was devastating, to oh my god, this kid had a life, and he was goofy and loving and caring and fun, and I love shows that dance the line between that.
That's
awesome.
What I mean?
That do it well.
And like you just mentioned, you're using your celebrity for good and promoting
Absolutely.
an organization. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Jordan Porco Foundation, I have actually, the COO, Matthew Riley, I grew up on his street in Connecticut. And it actually, his daughter, who was very close to my age, and I had known her pretty much since I lived there, which was like since I was 1. When she was very young, she was in the middle of high school, she took her own life. And it was like nobody saw it coming. Everyone was devastated because it was such a tight-knit community in a neighborhood. It was a very small town.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine that, like, everybody was affected. Everybody was affected. And the saddest part is, like, no one was able to pick up on the warning signs because we didn't, it wasn't common enough knowledge what those are.
Right.
And basically our mission is to spread, and first and foremost, to break the stigma behind mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times people, when they have like bipolar disorder or depression or anxiety or any of that, they'll kind of like knock it off as like, oh, they're just crazy, or oh, they have issues,
Right.
stay away from them. And that only makes it worse. And really often, if you just like ask what's going on, if you're persistent and you know something's wrong and you like make sure that they know that you're here for them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's 100% preventable.
Right.
So just to break the stigma behind mental health and let people know that it's okay to like reach out to someone who's in need, and also like reach out and send a message to, you know, the young adults that are suffering from all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and are susceptible to, you know, suicide and have suicidal thoughts. And I think it's really, really important, especially now, because it's only getting worse.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's so amazing that you're using your platform for such a topic that is really relevant, like you just said, for young adults. And, you know, your fans probably look up to you, and just any involvement at all in that charity and putting it out there is an awesome thing. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's super important.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I mean, anyone in this industry, you know, we get a lot of attention, especially if they do well. So I don't know. I kind of think it's like a waste if you don't do anything important with that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody.
No,
but
no,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you should support something that you believe in.
That's
you know?
amazing. You should be proud of what you're doing. You should be
Thank
proud
you.
of your career up to this point.
I appreciate that.
Are you looking forward to pilot season this year?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is this your first one in New York, or were you here last year?
I was here last year, yeah. And it was a little slow because I was still, you know, kind of getting to know all of the casting
Mm-hmm.
directors, but the end of the year went really well, so I'm hoping
awesome.
the beginning of this year, or this next year, goes very well.
Is there anything you can tease past Gotham, or you got to keep a lid on it?
I got a couple things in the works.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much I can say, but I mean, I hope to be announcing some stuff soon. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely
We'll
keep an ear out.
We'll have to hook up again and get the scoop on that.
For sure.
Thank you so much for your interview. It was
Absolutely.
a
Thanks for
pleasure
having me.
meeting you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.